Welcome to Original Being, where we explore the timeless wisdom of ancient practices and old ways of living. From holistic health and wellness to survival techniques, homesteading, and primitive skills. I'm Jillian Ariz, a functional and holistic-minded physician associate and a homesteading mother of 3. I am on a quest to reconnect with the knowledge our ancestors lived by, practical skills, natural healing, and self-sufficiency in a modern world. Each episode, I'll be sharing insights, experiences, and conversations with experts and everyday people who embody this mindset. Together, we'll challenge modern conveniences, embrace hands-on learning, and rediscover the practices that have stood the test of time. Disclaimer, the information shared on this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. My opinions and those of my guests are solely our own and are not affiliated with any institutions, employers, or certifications. This podcast does not provide medical advice, and any health-related decisions should be made in consultation with your personal healthcare provider. By listening, you acknowledge that you take full responsibility for your own choices and actions.
Today on Original Being, we have Rachel Warnock. Rachel is a clinically trained herbalist specializing in the nervous system who created a line of body care products called Impact Botanicals. Her products for face, hair, body, and general wellness harness the power of plants to nourish and build the body. She's the resident Ayurveda instructor at the Boston School of Herbal Studies, a top 3 finisher on season 13 of the Block's entrepreneurial reality TV series, and an activist. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Jillian. Thank you so much for having me.
So I love to talk about my guest's background. So I'd like to hear your backstory, how you got to where you are now.
Yeah. It's a long story. I'm not going to lie. So I'm going to say the abbreviated version, but I was really into spirituality as a kid. I ended up learning Reiki when I was like 12 years old, and I just kind of was into spirit, into alternative ways of living. And I had this job that I got in college where I was teaching at a community center, and I was teaching like about psychosomatic stress conditions and basically like where the body stores stress and how it stores stress, and then how do we release that, right? So I'm 20 years old, I'm in college, I'm teaching at this community center, and it's my first class, and this woman has this emotional release in my first class. And I successfully guided her through it. She had a great experience. Everybody in the class, and it was like 8 people, so it wasn't super big, but everybody was just like, wow, that was great. We had great experiences. But this woman who had this giant emotional release, she started crying. She was, hyperventilating a little bit, and we guided her through it. We got her to the end, and she had this great release. And so I had my first class. That was my first class. And so I get in the car and I'm about to drive home. And before I start driving home, I absolutely start bawling. And I'm like, I can't believe that just happened. I can't believe I successfully did that. I want to do this every single day for the rest of my life. I want this to be my life. And so I'm in college, and I'm like, how do I figure out how to make this my life?
Yeah.
And I graduated, and there were graduated in 2009. There were no jobs. The economy was tanked. So I decided I would stay in school. And my mentor, who had also gotten me that job at that community center, she was like, I went to Maharishi International University. I loved it. I got one of my master's degrees there. I think you should go study there, Rachel. And I followed her advice, and I ended up getting my master's degree in Ayurvedic herbal medicine from that college, graduating at the top of my class, with a specialty in the nervous system. And because the economy was still pretty tanked, even after graduation, and there were still no jobs, and it was the era of, you need 3 to 5 years of experience for an entry-level position. And even though I've been working since I was 14, and held positions of management and things like that, that wasn't 3 to 5 years of experience enough for people. And so in a fit of anger, I put out my own shingle. I filed my LLC paperwork. I bought malpractice insurance, and in a fit of anger, these are the things that I do. And so then I went into clinical practice for 3 years, and I saw a lot of really good success. And I had kind of successfully made it my life. It was the most fulfilling, the most wonderful thing every single day when I was driving to the office, when I was driving to meet my clients. I was like, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe this is what I get to do. I can't believe that, this medicine works so well. Oh my God, this is the best. But I also wasn't really making any money. I loved it, but it wasn't, if I hadn't been able to live with my mother during that time, I would not have been able to pay for shelter also, because feast or famine, I knew nothing about business. I knew nothing about marketing, just very, very ignorant of all of those kinds of things. And so when I turned 26 and could no longer be on her insurance, and a couple things were changing around that time in my life, I ended up picking up and moving to Boston. And it was a really good decision for me. It's something I don't regret at all, but it did mean that I was giving up my private practice at that moment in time.
So this was in Wisconsin?
Yep, that was in Wisconsin where I got started.
Okay.
Sorry, I grew up in Milwaukee. I could have started with that. I grew up outside of Milwaukee. So the first 26 years of my life there, and now, been in Boston for 10. And I ended up having to, get into the corporate world, which was not as exciting, but I learned a lot, and I got much better at business, and I got much better at marketing. And but I always wanted to continue to work with the plants, and it was a lot easier at that point in time to work with product than it was with people. And I'd started making product for my clients when I lived in Milwaukee, and that was a lot of fun, a lot of success there. In fact, I was consulting in the oncology department at Frederick Hospital, which is the top cancer care hospital in the Midwest, and definitely in Wisconsin, arguably in like that southern Lake Michigan area. Mm-hmm. And I had formulated a topical analgesic to help with chemotherapy-induced neuropathy pain, which is very painful, very painful. Mm-hmm. And the patients that I was working with experienced between 50 and 80% reduction in pain.
Wow, that's
which
awesome.
is insane, which was wonderful. Yeah. And so it really
pain is very hard to treat, like for people listening, just because it's a different kind of pain than other pain. So we find it very hard in medicine to treat that adequately.
Yeah. And there aren't very many good, prescription products on the market for it. Mm-hmm. So I was very excited about that. And really that pushed me into product, that pushed me into topicals in a lot of ways, working with eczema, psoriasis, all these dermatological, issues. And Ayurveda, which is the school of herbal medicine I'm trained in, has a really special relationship with topical treatments. I think they go more into it than the other schools of herbal medicine. And that's something maybe
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have a special love there. And so my training naturally led me to kind of be more equipped to work with topicals, medicinal topicals. And so formulating at the hospital, moving to Boston, got into product making, discovered the Boston School, learned Western herbal medicine through them. So now I'm trained in 2 different schools, and now I'm also one of the faculty members there. So that's kind of the short. Still ended up being a bit long, but the short version of my background. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful journey. And to make a career out of herbalism is very hard. I think that, I talk to many herbalists, and I have a lot of herbalist friends, and there always is that question of like, to see clients and become a clinical herbalist versus making products, and is the market saturated? And, just that always wondering, like, can you really make money doing what you truly love when you're so passionate about it? But I think it is hard. And there is a whole, like, having the business experience and the business background that comes into it, that not a lot of people love that side of it or want to do that. So
no, it's very true. You get into it because you love the plants and not realizing that, oh my God, I'm going to end up needing an MBA as well.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about the Ayurvedic aspect, because that's not something I'm trained in or really familiar with. And even some of the plants, which towards the end, we're going to talk more about Rachel's amazing business, Impact Botanicals. But some of these plants I have actually never even heard of. They're just very different. Is it because they're coming from India? Like, are they plants more like that's the bioregion that all of these are coming from? Are some of the names in Sanskrit or in a different thing? Or is it just that they're just not plants that we have growing in the United States?
It's a mix. So some of them, they definitely are not native to the United States. Some of them might grow here, but
Right.
we brought them over, right? Others, it's like, oh, well, that's in the same family. Like I use a lot of bala. Bala is a Sanskrit word. The common name is country mallow, and people are like, oh, yeah, mallow. Of course, we have
Yeah.
mallows here in the United States. Bala is a different kind of mallow, right? It's different from the normal mallows that most Western herbalists are used to working with. So some of it is the language barrier, some of it is the name, some of it is the different topography of India. They have the tropicals, they have the high altitude herbs. There's so many like geographic different zones in India. So that has really created a rich diversity in plant biology on that subcontinent, whereas a lot of Western herbs, they are either, indigenous American or they're European, right? And we don't have as many different climate zones in Europe or in North America that India has. So that has, throughout time and evolution, fostered an increased biodiversity, right? So that's where some of those plants are coming from. Some of it is just a language thing, and then people are like, "Oh, wait, we have that. Oh, wait, I know
Yeah.
that one," right?
Yeah.
And having learned the plants through the Sanskrit names first, it was a little bit of oh, wait. Oh, okay. Now, and kind of being able to translate in my head, that has been an important skill to have. Yeah, I think that is why people look at Ayurvedic herbs and they're like, they have this confusion immediately, right? It's a very foreign language for them.
So I see that you combine, both of them in your products as well. Do you find that with some of the Ayurvedic herbs, is there a different, like you said, like they're more topical, or like the whole path seems to be more favoring topical. So do you feel like in general, it's more geared towards skin stuff? Or when you say topical, it also is just that we're treating like pain and other things with a topical modality instead of ingesting the herbs?
So I think, Ayurveda still ingests herbs quite a bit. I wouldn't say that they don't ingest. I think they ingest them differently. Western herbalism favors tinctures, whereas Ayurveda favors like decoctions and things like that. We also infuse our herbs into ghee, which is not done in Western herbalism. So we use fat as a menstruum that way. I think that Ayurveda just gets more in depth with some of the topicals, like their teachings around and use cases for topicals just exceeds what I see in Chinese medicine and in Western medicine. And that is because the word for oil in Sanskrit is sneha, which means tangible love. It means love that you can feel, right? And so in the Ayurvedic system and for the Vedic peoples, when you apply oil to your skin, it's this very tangible act of self-love. And they have this thing called abhyanga, which is a daily oil massage that you're supposed to do for yourself. And you can use normal oil, you can use an herbal infused oil, but you're supposed to kind of sit with yourself every single day and apply oil on your body, starting with your heart, working your way out in a circular motion, using circular motions on your joints, and then like long stroking motions on your long bones. And it's supposed to keep you in touch with your body. It's supposed to like allow you to kind of figure out like, oh, is there pain? Oh, is there tightness? Oh, it's this moment of like, what does my body need, right? Or you take 10 minutes to kind of figure out like, what does my body need? But then because of the medicinal properties of the oil, of sesame oil is most commonly used, but there are others that are used. Sesame oil is naturally antibacterial. It's naturally anti-carcinogenic. And I think for, looking back at the history of the region, of the people there, oil, like a nice little film of oil on your skin would kind of absorb the dust if you were in like more of the desert region. It might make it harder for insects to bite you because they kind of there's like this extra lipid barrier on top of your skin that's very protective. And then of course, if you're using an infused oil that has like some nice insect repellent in there, you're putting that on your skin. So you're protecting yourself with like natural bug spray, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then as you travel, as you go, like the dust gets absorbed into this oil. And so it's a lot easier to wash off at the end of the day, right? It's not getting into your skin. It's just kind of being collected with this little film of oil that's on your skin. And so I think that there was a wonderful medicinal kind of like self-care use for Abhyanga, throughout the millennia here, that goes above and beyond just like having that moment with your body. Ayurveda uses a lot of topicals to treat the mind as well. So when we think about the nervous system, we usually think about the brain, and that's a fair jump to make, right? But we have our peripheral nervous system, and that is all over our body. And it's very easy, especially in today's world, to get overstimulated. And so a lot of ways that we treat that in the Ayurvedic, lens of things is that we make a nice oil with nervine herbs, which means that they're soothing to the nervous system, and adaptogenic herbs, which means they are fortifying to the nervous system. We make a nice little combo of that. And then we apply that daily through oil massage. And I've treated a lot of anxiety patients. I've treated, people with ADHD, with autism, people who get overly stimulated by doing topical daily oil massages. And it's been very effective for them. It's very grounding and wonderful. And in fact,
I read a study once, and I'll have to find it and link it, but I read a study once that actually oiling your whole body lowered systemic inflammation.
Yes.
Like it was actually like proven. It wasn't just, oh, you're relaxing, it's so relaxing. It feels good. No, there's actually something about repairing that skin barrier and like coating the body in oil that actually lowered the inflammation throughout the body. So it's really powerful.
It is. And the Vedic system of making infused oil is different from the Western one. So we use a little bit of heat, whereas the Western method doesn't. And so we heat the oil just to the boiling point or right below it, right at like the 212 mark, right? And
like really heat the oil first?
Oh yeah, we heat it.
That is different.
Heat it. It is different. Yeah. It's different. It's a double decoction method. So you take the herbs, you make a decoction in water, and then you add the oil and the water together, and you keep simmering it right at that point. You don't let it get any higher than that, right? And that changes the molecule. They've done studies on this. It changes the molecule of the oil and gets it smaller. So, like when it's sesame oil, which is the queen of all oils in Ayurveda, it's small enough now after that process to pass through the blood-brain barrier. And they've measured how deep it gets into your body. It gets it down to the bones. So if you want these herbs to go deep into your tissues, and fat gets absorbed differently than water, so this is a really tiny lipid that is going to carry this medicine deep, deep, deep into your tissues. And that's why I was able to be effective with treating neuropathy with herbs through the skin, because it would carry it deep down, and it was a fat, so it would get absorbed into the myelin sheath of the nerve, right? And kind of stick in there and keep that medicine in there and cool the herbs, stop the pain, or, whatever it is you're trying to treat. There's a lot of good muscle treatments out there that involve this method. And it's because the molecules are small, carries the medicine deep, and it absorbs it and kind of holds it there because fat processes slower in your body than water does. And so that's a real cool Ayurvedic trick.
Yeah, that is really cool. And also it just reminds you again of how much is being absorbed through our skin. I think that's something that it's come up before on the podcast, but I don't think we went on too deep into it, but just that everything you put on your body is being absorbed. Your skin is an organ. And so we can put something that's really healing and nourishing and like is helping us, or if we're putting toxic chemicals on our skin, that's being absorbed too. And that, I think that's just so overlooked. Like people just tend to think that topicals are not that potent or, that effective. And it just isn't true. I'm always amazed by how like a topical can help, like, especially with pain, actually, for example, which I have not tried Ayurvedic herbs. So I would love to, and I'll have to after this conversation. But like I have bulging discs and really severe lower back pain, and comfrey oil really helps. And I remember when I first tried that being like, there's no way this is going to help this kind of pain. You know, like it just seems like, how could it when I've tried so many more intense things? And it's temporary and it is a little more like short lasting, I would say, but it really does help. And that always is fascinating. Even though I have the knowledge for it, it's still fascinating when you experience it yourself.
It is. I fully agree. Like there's something about knowing it and experiencing it. Like they're different beasts, you know? And experiencing it really, like the knowledge gets in deeper into you as well that way.
Yep.
Yeah. Actually, can I make one more note about skin?
Yeah.
So what you were saying about how everything that goes on your skin ultimately gets into your body, it's so true. And there's some really good stats around that, right? So it depends on the different lipid size, you know, the size of the lipid or the size of the molecule that's being touched against your skin. But the smallest molecules hit our bloodstream within 30 seconds of applying it to our skin. Or like, just think about like you brush up against things and within 30 seconds, that can be hitting your bloodstream, right? And so having a good topical microbiome, like the skin, yes, it's our largest organ. It is to absorb. It is also to expel. Like we get rid of waste through our skin. We take new things into our body through our skin. And it is also a big part of our immune system. Yes, 70 or 75% of the immune system lives in the gut, but there is, microbacteria on our skin that helps to protect us. And so fostering a good immune system through your skin is also really effective for just protecting and nourishing your body in general. And that's another thing that Abhyanga or like oil application is really effective at. It helps to foster a good topical immune system.
I really like that. I like the idea of sesame oil. I don't use it a lot in skincare stuff. And now that you're saying that, I think that's really interesting. And I'd like to also say, I know there's a big war on seed oils right now, but I actually researched it, and sesame oil is not considered the same as seed oils like canola oil and these like highly refined vegetable oils. Those are totally different. Those are using chemicals to like extract and make the oil. And sesame seeds have been used to make oil naturally for what, thousands of years?
Really? Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Because you're right. There is this war on seed oil right now. And I understand it, in terms of internal, right? A lot of seed oils are rich in omega-6, which is we need omega-6, but there's so much of it in our American diet. And this is because of years of subsidies where the crops that get government subsidies are rich in omega-6. They get overproduced, cost goes down, they end up in so much of our food. This is, like you said, the soybean oil, the canola oil, the corn oil, all of those things, these different seed oils. And so our diet it's been an unintended policy consequence that our diet has become saturated with omega-6, and we need it. But when it's in excess, which it currently is, it fosters internal inflammation, makes it easier for you to get sick, makes your allergies worse. Any kind of bronchial or sinusitis, like inflammation in your respiratory system, a lot of that is influenced, and like the flames are being fanned essentially by over consumption of omega-6. And so that is where a lot of this anti-seed oil all of this anti-seed oil rhetoric is coming from. And it's well deserved, we are taking too much of it in. Our insides are designed to be a little bit alkaline. That's where they want to be. And with all of this omega-6 consumption, they are becoming more acidic. However, the skin barrier needs to be a little acidic. That's what it was designed to be. A little acidic on the outside, a little alkaline on the inside. That is the homeostasis our bodies want. And so as much as, don't use seed oil so much inside, seed oil is phenomenal on your skin. All of the best oils for your skin come from seeds, whether it is sesame seed or rosehip seed or amla berry, like that's a seed oil, borage seed, black cumin seed, which is my favorite.
Yeah, magical.
Yes, it's unbelievable. And so a lot of my products, I work so much with seed oil, and there are so many benefits for the skin. So keep it on the outside of your body more than the inside of your body. Sesame oil is a little rich in omega-6, so be careful. Like it doesn't work in your body the same way that like a canola
Right.
or, it would work.
Right. And all of those oils you just named again are still not
Yeah.
canola and
Right,
soybean.
exactly.
No, those or rapeseed, cottonseed. I mean,
Or
those still
right,
have,
or
those still have
soybean.
so many other chemicals and bad properties. So
Exactly.
it's a big difference. I've just noticed
It
that
is.
like a lot of people weren't really educated on that, and they just hear seed. And then if they hear seed in the name of the oil, they're just like, oh, this is so bad. Well, I thought seed oils are bad. So you really do need to kind of understand there's a big difference
Yes.
in the extraction methods and in the different kinds of seed oils. And when we're talking about these ones, they're much better for you.
People have been eating and cooking with sesame oil for like centuries, for millennia.
Yeah.
And it's not nearly, I wouldn't do it every single day, but it's not nearly as offensive to your insides as something like canola.
Yep,
or
absolutely.
soybean.
Yeah. So I'd like to go into a little bit about the doshas. Well, I'd really like to talk about your whole approach when you see clients, because you still see clients, right? As like clinical patients.
I do, yeah.
So how is your approach different than a Western herbalism approach? Like when you look at a person, or say, or even a TCM approach where, we're looking at the tongue and there's like a lot of different aspects. Yeah. Well, I know Western herbalism sometimes does that, but I want to know your approach and how that differs and what's kind of unique about it.
Yeah. Okay. So, yes, Ayurveda does see the world through the 3 doshas. Little bit of, so we have 5 elements in Ayurveda, earth, air, fire, water, space. And those elements are perfect. They are they exist in a realm above our own. They are whole and complete and perfectly balanced, and they could never be wrong. However, as their energies and influences come down to our plane, now all of a sudden they can become imbalanced because we do not live in a perfect plane. And so as the elements kind of come down to be in our space, our realm, they become the doshas or the faults. And a single dosha represents 2 elements. So vata is air and space, pitta is fire and water, kapha is earth and water. And the word dosha actually means fault, because the inherent property of a dosha is that it can become imbalanced. Whereas the elements are perfect unto themselves, the doshas are not. They are faults. They are flaws. But they are how the elements are felt, and they are how they manifest in our bodies, in the weather, in our personalities, in our temperaments. They are how the elements become physical for us. It is how the elements are tangible. Okay. And so when I look at a person, everybody has this kind of pie chart, right? It's when you're born, you have all 3 of those doshas in you, but to different degrees. And I like to think of it as your natal pie chart. When you came into the world, this was what your balance point looked like. And that is something called prakriti in Ayurveda. And, my goal as a practitioner is to get somebody back to their prakriti. One, I have to understand what their prakriti is, and then work to get them back to their prakriti, because through living, you become imbalanced. And the imbalance of the doshas is called vrikriti. So I look at, yes, I want to know what their prakriti is. Yes, I want to know what their primary dosha or doshas are, because like I'm a pitta kapha. You can be tridoshic. You can, be like that person is textbook pitta, or that person is vata kapha, right? That happens. Or in rare instances, you're tridoshic, which means you have like an equal balance of all 3 in you, which that's cool when that happens. Doesn't happen too often, but
wouldn't that be good? Is that good to be like that, back to your original form?
So tridoshic is considered to be very auspicious. So like if you're somebody who is born tridoshic, that is an auspicious thing. Kapha is considered the best dosha in Ayurveda, just because they are they're considered the most beautiful. They have the most youth. They can do all sorts of things, and they never get their feathers ruffled. Yeah. They're always just this sweet, unbothered, like they have a strong system, you know, like they don't get sick very easily. The problem with a kapha person is that like the stress will build up, and then all of a sudden they'll be like 70 years old and they'll just become critically ill or fall over. And it's because they're so strong, they never show signs of disease earlier. So it's harder to find disease in a kapha person. But you know, whereas a vata person, the wind blows the wrong way and they catch a cold. And so disease manifests a little bit easier there. And thus they're more aware of their own system, right? Like the fatal flaw of a kapha person is that they can run a marathon and feel fine while running the marathon, but then tip over the next day. And so sometimes it can actually make them a little bit, where did this come from? You know, I felt fine. But ultimately, kapha is considered, you know, the best dosha. You know, if people were to have a favorite, American culture favors pitta a lot. Pitta is the high energy. It is the toned body, you know, muscular, lean. You know, our culture really favors a lot of vata and pitta type qualities. That's just American culture. Whereas Indian culture favors a lot more kapha qualities, where you're slow and you're unbothered and, you know, less energy. You know, you're less energy, but you're more centered, right? Sorry, I went little tangent there. We were talking about how I treat a person. So when I look at them, I want to figure out what their prakriti is. I want to figure out what their vrikriti is. And then I use a mix of diet, lifestyle, and herb recommendations to bring them back into balance. Ayurveda also is very heavy on cleanses. I think all herbalism, you know, has a system of cleansing, and that's a part of it. I think that like oils, Ayurveda goes a little bit more into cleansing than some of the other systems. We have something called Panchakarma, which is the 5 actions. And it's the 5 actions of cleansing, you know, and so it's getting things out of your body through them, you know, through vomiting, through going to the bathroom, through sweating it out through the skin. And all of this cleansing is done with oil.
Okay.
Whereas, you know, a lot of Western herbalism doesn't use oil for those kinds of things. The science on that is actually really kind of cool. So again, we were talking about the herbal oils and putting herbs into ghee. Ghee is another one where the lipid density is super small. It can pass through the blood-brain barrier. There are 2 main types of toxins in the world. There are lipophilic, which means they love fat, and they're hydrophilic, which means they love water. And if you have hydrophilic toxins in your body, that can be flushed very easily by drinking a lot, by sweating. You know, these are the things where it's just drink a lot of water and work out. Yes, hydrophilic toxins, you'll get rid of them. A lipophilic toxin, and the lipophilic toxins are the worst. These are the really bad endocrine disruptors. These are like the DDTs of the world.
Would this also be like heavy metals?
Heavy metals, a little differently. You need a good binder for those.
Yeah.
So I, you know, spirulina, I think, is probably one of the best binders for that.
Yeah.
And honestly, Western, I love plantain more than some of the Ayurvedic ones. For binding and pulling out heavy metals.
That's good to know because that's abundant.
Yeah, right. Like actually, when it comes to heavy metals, I actually prefer the Western herbs, nettle, plantain, and the seaweed spirulina. I think that they're really good, but ghee does help get heavy metals out of the body. Actually, that's so what Ayurveda uses is the ghee.
Okay. So what's another example of a lipophilic toxin? I guess is what I'm curious about.
So DDT.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So DEET, the phthalates that are in like nail polish and makeups and things like that, those are lipophilic.
Okay.
And so they latch on to fat cells.
That's harder to get rid of.
And that's a lot harder to get rid of. It won't get, even if you burn the fat, it just latches onto the fat cell next to it. And think about, like, we need fat in our bodies. Our brains are like 2/3 fat. And it needs that fat to function. It needs that fat to protect the neurons. So your brain has like more fat than most parts of your body. So that could be where a lot of these lipophilic toxins end up, which if they're endocrine disruptors, they are messing with how your body communicates with itself. Ladies, we have fat cells, a lot of them on top of our pectoral muscles. And of course, there's fat that gets stored all over the body, right? So these endocrine disruptive lipophilic toxins latch on, and you need to introduce another fat to get them to let go and then process out of the body. So doing a cleanse with ghee or with oil allows them to let go and process out. And I think that's one of the things that makes Ayurvedic cleansing so unique and different and also successful. There was a study done back in the 2000s. They took fat samples, like they took a biopsy of fat from the study participants and measured all the lipophilic toxins in there. Then they did a week of Panchakarma, 1 week, and then they did another biopsy.
And the Panchakarma is the oil cleanse?
Yeah, it's a system. It's a whole system, but it's basically.
Okay, but that's the name of the Ayurvedic cleanse.
They ingested oils. They had oil massage. They did sweats. They did the whole 5 things. But it is basically a lot of oil being put on and in your body, a lot of fats being put on and in your body, and then you take a purgative, a laxative, and you flush everything out. So they did a week of this. And then they did another biopsy of the fat. Some of the toxins were reduced by 48%, some were reduced by 52%, but basically across the board, average of 50% reduction in lipophilic toxins, which are like the hardest things to get out of your body. And so that to me just is like, where else do we have this?
Yeah. This hasn't even been something on my radar. This is fascinating.
Yeah, I think it is too. Like this is something, these are knowledge bombs I love to drop.
So when they're doing one of these, so there's all those 5 components you were talking about, like you're sweating, you're putting the oil on the skin, you're ingesting oil too. Is that typically like a black cumin seed oil? What kind of, or more the ghee? And are they herbal infused as well?
Usually it's a ghee. It can be straight ghee or it can be an herbal infused ghee. So like one of the really common ones is something called triphala ghee. And triphala is a very common compound in Ayurveda. It's known as the poor man's immortality. Like if you were to only take one thing in the entire world, it should be triphala. And it's a compound of 3 herbs. Haritaki, Amalaki, and Bibitaki works on the lungs, the liver, and the intestines. They're great herbs onto themselves. The triphala ghee has a few more things in there. It's not just those 3, but it's a really wonderful cleansing compound. And so you drink the ghee and you start small and you increase and this is all done under the supervision of a practitioner. This is not something you go home and do on your own after reading
just
about
drink a bunch of ghee.
Do not do this without a professional helping you. We take your pulse. We do all sorts of diagnostics around this to figure out how much you should be drinking. We take, and people will do like a month of Panchakarma, right?
Wow. And are they eating anything else, or are they fasting and only drinking the ghee?
No.
Oh, they are.
So that's another fun thing about Ayurvedic cleanses. They don't believe in fasting.
Really? I would never have thought that. I thought this was for sure fasting.
No, you get to eat. You have to wake up and you take the fat first thing in the morning. You take the ghee first thing in the morning. So you're kind of having like this liquid breakfast, right? But you just ingested all this fat. It will take you a while. It should take you until lunchtime if they're a good practitioner and they got their numbers right. It should take you until about lunchtime to get hungry again. Right? So you just have your ghee, you have some tea, you have like nice little light morning, and then you are having lunch and dinner. There are certain foods you cannot eat. Like you are supposed to eat easily digested foods. So if you're an omnivore, that means you're giving up meat for the duration of Panchakarma. You're eating a vegetarian, easily digested, cooked, lighter things, but you are not supposed to go hungry. Because that digestive fire needs to process everything out of your body. And if the digestive fire gets weaker because you're not eating and you're messing with, the hunger hormones in your body, then you're not processing things out. So they want you to eat, but you have to eat a special diet. You don't go hungry. You just might have some weird cravings. And that's also part of the toxins processing out because, fun fact, you have taste buds in your intestines. You have taste buds in your lungs. That's how you know how your air quality, that's how your body figures out air quality, is through the taste buds in your lungs. And if we have a really good, balanced, healthy biome in our guts, the taste buds in our intestines help us to have cravings for things our body needs. Because they're tasting everything as it moves through, as it processes. And it's like, your body is so smart. It can be like, hey, I need more potassium. I need you to start craving, bananas or whatever your body associates with, potassium.
Yeah, whatever nutrient it's needing.
I need you to have some more vitamin C. Get some strawberries down here, right? And so that's why our body evolved that way. Now, those taste buds can work against us because there are parasites in the gut that can trigger those taste buds for, sugar cravings. There are, as we eat things that are less good for us or like straight up toxic for us, then those taste buds in our gut can get addicted to some of those chemicals and crave those chemicals. And that happens a lot with soda. When people have soda withdrawals, it's literally the taste buds in your intestines that are triggering that kind of stuff. And so when you're processing a bunch of toxins out of your body, you can get some weird cravings, and it's because the taste buds in your tubes are getting triggered in weird ways. So you will usually have some funky cravings, and there are some teas that we give people to help, navigate that so that they can stay strong. Genema sylvestre is one of the big ones. We give that to people a lot during cleanses to help like even out some of those cravings. But yeah, and then at the end, you take a lot of laxatives, and you have this big purge, and it all comes out, and you're eating very, very light that day. That's a little bit, you might have like one fast that day where you're just doing liquids. You're still eating, but it's like really liquid.
And you're taking herbal laxatives, like you're taking certain herbs to help you go to the bathroom?
Usually it's castor oil. So again, a fat. Again, a fat.
Which even the ghee, I would imagine, is moving a lot of stuff through anyway if you're drinking ghee every morning, because all of those fats and oils tend to be quite laxative. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're moving things out throughout. Then we give you castor oil at the end. It's this real nice big purge. And during the process, you'll have, depends on how long you're doing the Panchakarma. If you're doing it for 1 week, it's a little bit more simple. If you're doing it more extended, there's also sweats. There are enemas involved where it's like they pull everything out of you, and then they also like build you back up, pull everything out, build you back up. So enemas are a big part of Panchakarma. Again, you're not doing this at home by yourself. You're doing this with a trained professional. And a lot of people like to go to Ayurvedic clinics, right? So then you have a care team,
they're just staying there all the time.
Yep. It's like inpatient. You stay there.
Wow.
That was actually where I interned. After graduate school, I got an internship at a Panchakarma clinic in Iowa. But a lot of people go to India for this. Honestly, you could do a week of Panchakarma in the United States, or you could do a month of Panchakarma in India for like the same price, So
yeah.
We'll do go to India for it. But it's this really incredible cleanse system. People use it when they are struggling with like big things. People go and do Panchakarma so that they can get pregnant sometimes, right? Like clean me out, get rid of everything because I'm having fertility issues. And then they're able to get pregnant afterwards. Or they have like a very severe chronic disease. They go and do Panchakarma, and then their disease is more manageable, or it starts to disappear. And a lot of times after the Panchakarma, the practitioner will give you a bunch of herbs. They'll give you a protocol. They'll be like, hey, for the next month, I want you to do this, right? Kind of a thing. And so it is an undertaking. It's a very cool undertaking. It's great for you. And I think it is one of the real special things about the Ayurvedic school of medicine is the cleanse systems, is Panchakarma, is the way that they use fat, not just for, cosmetics, but for the immune system, for cleansing, for getting all of this nasty stuff out of your body. Fat is actually a really effective cleanser. And I think as Americans, as Westerners, that just blows our minds,
Yeah. Well, I think that's coming back. Like, I think like where people are starting to realize how important fat is and how good it is for you too in the right forms. But I know for so long, especially I think we're like the same age from when you said you graduated college. So from our generation, from growing up as a kid, when everything was low fat, anti-fat, they just thought fat made you fat, to now being like, no, not really. Like, it's actually really sugar that makes you fat. But it's just, I mean, it's more complicated, but mostly it is. It's fat is fascinating and it's needed. We need it in our bodies and we need it for energy. But then talking about these healing things like on the outside and the inside and how it pulls stuff out of you, that's really fascinating. It is. I had two questions about that. Like, so I just wanted to go back to the drinking the ghee because this is like so interesting to me. So is it just melted and you're just drinking it by itself? Or are you putting it with like lemon and water? Is it, you're just drinking it straight?
So the traditional way to do it is to melt it, and then you're taking a certain number of tablespoons. And that's, the practitioner will take your pulse, figure out like how much you should have. So you're just drinking some tablespoons of ghee. Some people struggle with that. So then we tell them, hey, chase it with lemon water, warm lemon water to chase it. I sometimes if it's not a cleanse situation, if I'm just giving ghee to somebody to take medicinally on a regular basis, it can be like they have to melt it, like they have to like liquefy it before they can take it, and that can be a little bit of a people have to like work. It's not always user friendly, right? So in those instances, and especially for myself, like I take ghee medicinally, just like you. I have a disc issue in my lower back. I have a lot of lower back pain. And I am working on that and solving that with an herbal ghee that I make for myself, with a mix of Ayurvedic and Western herbs, and it's been super effective. And I'd love to share some with you, just hearing your story.
Yeah, I would love that.
But I forget to melt it, and then I'm like, crap, I am about to go do this thing. I should have been melting this like 10 minutes ago. So what I do is I take hot water and I take a spoonful and I just put the ghee in the hot water, liquefy it there, and then I down it. And that is also a perfectly acceptable way to take ghee. I think it's when you're on the cleanse and you're taking like multiple teaspoons. I don't know. For me, it's just easy to just drink it straight like that, but you can mix it with water. Absolutely. And I do that for my back pain medicine all the time.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, I know, people were putting like butter and ghee in coffee too, which I'm not sure how coffee is, if that's allowed on the cleanse or not, but
coffee is not allowed on the cleanse. No. on the cleanse, it's not allowed. It stresses out because it immediately sparks your adrenals to start creating adrenaline. Yeah. And so we can't be doing that. It's like also hard for your liver. So just on the cleanse,
no coffee.
Just on the
But you could put it in tea. If it were just like to make it with the hot water. Yeah. That would be good. So I know you mentioned like fertility and obviously people who have like really major illnesses, or disease states that they want to go on. But is there any time that someone comes to you and you're not necessarily sure what's going on, but they just seem like a toxin overload? Like, what kind of person are you really like, you really should do one of these cleanses? Like, because it seems pretty intense. It doesn't seem like every single person you're seeing is someone you're going to recommend that for.
So Panchakarma is a whole thing, and I could not do that on my own. Like, I would need to be a part of a care team for somebody who's going to be doing Panchakarma. I do guide people through at-home cleanses. And so that is like a mini version of Panchakarma, where I'm helping them, I'm giving them the tools, I give them a whole protocol and write-up. And it is still like you're still taking a bit of ghee, or you're taking herbs, because not everybody wants, taking ghee is not always meant for everybody, right? There are certain instances where like the ghee, your body isn't in a space where you could actually digest it very easily. So I'm going to give you herbs and I'll do an herbal cleanse with you instead. But it's still kind of this protocol of like, for a week, it's the oleation, right? Where I'm giving you something that is loosening up the toxins inside of you. Then I'll give them some castor oil. They'll have a nice flush. It's the same special diet that you're on as with Panchakarma. So light diet, loosen things up inside of you, have a nice little purge. And it's recommended that people do this little mini cleanse every 3 months, right? So it's recommended in the Ayurvedic texts, which are 5,000 years old. You're supposed to do Panchakarma once a year in an ideal world, right? That you would do Panchakarma once a year in spring. And at the changing of the seasons, you do a cleanse for the other 3 months, for the other 3 changes, right? So, and there is a really wonderful cumulative benefit to this. Like when you're doing, it's like changing your oil in your car, right? You kind of do it every 10,000 miles. You're changing things up in your body. And from season to season, you're getting rid of the excess. So you're not carrying it forward as the year enters, as the wheel of the year turns. And so that's what I usually am doing with my own clients, is that I'm kind of guiding them through this simple at-home cleanse. There may or may not be enemas depending on the individual. Most of my clients don't do the enema portion. If we feel like, that's a group conversation, but between the two of us. That's not something everybody wants to do. But if they do, I'm happy to make the herbal oil for them and give them the instructions and send them on their way. So I do work with my clients on cleanses. It's something I really love doing. But Panchakarma is a bigger deal, and multiple people are usually involved in the process of taking a client through a Panchakarma treatment.
Yeah. Well, I think, intestinal cleanses they kind of span so many different things, and everybody always feels much better after they do that anyway. But it is interesting to think about that changing of the seasons. We mostly think of spring, I guess, thinking like, okay, spring is the cleanse the lymphatics, move everything out because it's been stagnant from winter. But then to think of that maybe also going into, would it be more like fall going into winter that you would do another one, would it be more like summer into fall?
Summer into fall. There's a lot of heat in summer, and so our bodies can get very hot. And so if you are going back to the doshas, if you are a more pitta person by nature, then doing a cleanse after summer is more important for you. If you are a more kapha person, then doing a cleanse in spring is more important for you. Fall going into winter is important for both pitta and vata people. And a cleanse coming out of winter is very important for vata people. So sometimes, yes, the spring is the best time to cleanse. It is the ideal. Everybody should do a spring cleanse. But I also look at my clients' predominant dosha. And if they can only do one, if they don't like cleansing, and I'm only going to get one out of them every year, then I look at their dosha and I'm like, okay, so you're a real pitta person. I want you to do a cleanse after summer. Like that is your time to cleanse, where you get rid of all that excess heat out of the body. After winter has a lot of vata energy. It's cold and dry. And so you get all of this coldness and dryness out of the body when you do a cleanse after winter. Fall involves both pitta and vata. It's changing. So there's vata. There's also heat still in fall. So that's pitta. And so if you're a pitta vata person, a cleanse after fall going into winter is important for you to kind of get that excess out of your body.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. I actually really struggle with seasonal shifts. Like temperature change seems to flare up some kind of an autoimmune reaction in me. And so I get into flare up of lots of pain and inflammation for sometimes this past month. Actually, it's been a month. And I think because up here it's been, raining cold and then really, really hot all of a sudden, but then it goes back and then my body's like, what is happening? Is it spring? Is it summer? Is it winter?
And climate change is making it really hard to draw a line between the seasons. It's actually making it really hard when you plan a cleanse. As an Ayurvedic practitioner, the whole the way that our seasons are changing has made it hard to
because it stays hot through September now in New England. It's really not getting cold until the end of October.
No. And so we have very long falls, we have very long springs, and then all of a sudden it's 90 degrees, and then it goes back down to 50, so it is throwing our bodies into, a tizzy, but a cleanse can help. A cleanse can really help as you shift through.
So let's talk, I want to just go back a little bit to the doshas.
Yeah.
I meant to do, so do you have like a big questionnaire? Like, how do you figure out someone's dosha? Are there things that you kind of look at them or you start to like talk, or is it really just this certain questionnaire that then you've got it, like, this is what you are, this is how we're going to proceed?
It's the pulse. We read their doshas in the pulse. You take the person's pulse and we feel the elements in their body. And then we push down and we cut off the circulation for a little bit and we'll feel what's called the deep pulse. And at the deep pulse, you can feel what their prakriti is, what they are, in their origin state. Yes, there's a questionnaire. Yes, there is, like that. But the questionnaire really helps me determine what their vrikriti, what their imbalance is. The questionnaire helps a little bit with prakriti, but for the most part, it's feeling it in the pulse. A really good Ayurvedic clinic will have an astrologer on staff because they will look at the person's birth chart to help determine their prakriti.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of astrology. It's the Vedic system. They have these, these sciences, these sections, like yoga is one, right? But yoga and Ayurveda, like there's a part of yoga that is correct diet. And that is where Ayurveda is like, oh yeah, that's me. That's my job. I tell people how to have a correct diet. And then here's how you are. Here is your homeostasis. And yes, Ayurveda can, answer that to a certain degree, but ultimately we can't know what the homeostasis of the individual is without consulting the stars, because the stars impact our spirits. And as the spirit takes physical form, we need to understand what the balance of the planets was at the moment that the spirit took physical form. Like, you can't figure that out without consulting the stars. So that's where Jyotish or Ayurvedic astrology comes into play. And then also there's a section of Ayurveda that is like, the planets are associated with different organs. And so, yes, we might treat the organs with herbs and diet and food and all of those things, but there are some Ayurvedic practitioners that will give a person a mantra, and it's a planetary mantra where you start chanting to Venus every single day, or you start chanting to Saturn every single day to help resolve the issue with that organ, especially if it's a really chronic thing, especially if the Ayurvedic clinic has an astrologer on staff and they're like, you've got some real Saturn or Jupiter stuff going on in your chart that is contributing to this illness, this chronic illness that you've had, or this chronic imbalance. And so you need to heal your relationship with the planet. And so you need to heal your relationship with the planet by chanting to it 108 times every single day. Right. Wow. And so when we talk about how holistic Ayurveda is, it is diet,
it's everything.
It is lifestyle, it is like astrology and different yoga postures. It is everything connected. And that's for some people, that's the deep end. I also think that makes Ayurveda amazing as a school, that they consider things to that degree. So
yeah, I do too. And I love that approach. And whether you believe in it or not, like I say this all the time on this podcast, especially, but I'm like, if it doesn't hurt, then, let's do it. So you can say like, well, that sounds really woo woo, but you know what? Like, it's not going to harm you to say the planet that many times a day. It's only going to help. It either works or it doesn't. So why not?
And if you don't want that as part of your treatment plan, it doesn't have to be part of your treatment plan.
Yeah.
But that is in the scope and the spectrum of how Ayurveda treats people. There are some recommendations in the ancient texts that are like, oh, if you have depression, you should play with children or animals, right? You should take up a handcraft of some kind, like spend your time weaving or knitting or working with, physical element. And that's like their number. I mean, you can take all these herbs and don't eat these foods if you have depression. But like, most importantly, you should spend time with animals and children.
Yeah.
Like, that's the number one.
I did have a question about, sorry to interrupt you on the doshas. When they talk about the pulse, we can change our resting heart rate based on, an athlete is going to have a very slow resting heart rate. So is that changing your dosha? Can your doshas change over time?
Your prakriti is your prakriti is your prakriti. It's like that is it until the day you
That
die.
one doesn't change. Okay.
Your current state changes every moment. Your current state changes by what you ate, by what you're feeling in that moment. So we're not feeling like how fast or slow your pulse is going. We're feeling how much earth, air, fire, and water is mixed into your blood. We're feeling how sticky it is. Is it sweet? Is it is it a thick, healthy bump? It is how does it hit my fingers? Is it like aggressive? Like does it feel like it just jumps out of you and like bounces against my fingers? Does it disappear a lot? If it is it constantly disappearing? Does it feel really light? Does it feel sticky? Does it feel sour or sweet? Like those are the things that we're looking for in the pulse. And then depending on how it hits this finger, and that one, they mean different things.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's not something that we know at all in allopathic medicine.
No.
No.
Nope. And it should be also noted that the Chinese method of taking pulse is different from the Ayurvedic one. They feel it higher up on the wrist, and they do ultimately kind of look for the same things, like is it fast, is it slow, is it sticky, is it sweet? Like all of that, those descriptors are the same, but they are specifically reading organs in the body, whereas we are specifically reading elements in the body.
Okay. Interesting. So you feel their pulse, and then you know the one that you were saying is that never changes. What was that called again?
Yeah, the birth dosha, which is the prakriti.
Okay. And then the things that are out of balance, you get more from like talking to them about like their health issues or like the things that are going on right then.
You still feel that in the pulse. You feel that on the superficial pulse. So like when I first start taking the pulse, I'm just pushing down a little bit. That's the superficial pulse. When I cut off the person's circulation, I push deep down into their wrist, cut off their circulation just for a brief moment. And then when I release just ever so much, the way that it hits your fingers, that's the deep pulse. And so that's the prakriti, and you feel the vrikriti, or the current state of imbalance, in the superficial pulse. And yes, I do a questionnaire. I do talk to them. There's a lot of psychometry in reading a person's dosha, which is like the mannerisms and how they move, how they speak. If I have a chance to see how they walk, there are motions and movements that are considered, that's a vata movement, that's a pitta movement, that's a kapha movement, like how their body, their body language essentially is what we would call it, right? And so those things give it away also. Some of that can be an imbalance. Some of that can just be like, oh yeah, dude, that person is so pitta, that person is so vata. That is just how they are, right? I have a pitta walk. My walk is one of the most pitta walks people have ever seen. And that is a thing that I would hear when I was in college, that, oh my God, that belongs in a textbook. The way that you walk is so pitta. And it's because I walk really fast with a sense of purpose. Like I am going to a place, get out of my way. I need to be there now.
I think that's how I walk too.
That is a pitta walk.
Yeah.
We are on a mission.
Yeah.
We need to get there. That's a pitta thing, right? So you kind of see how people talk, how their mannerisms, that also feeds into what their dosha is. The questionnaire really helps me with their, what's your current imbalance, right? And so, oh, wow. Also, it's what do you eat every day? What is causing the imbalance in your life? It is, are you exposed to chemicals at your job or in your home? It's some of these like social determinants of health kind of questions that impact health, that impact like, oh, well, if you're eating all of these things, that is why you have this imbalance, right? So we need to correct your diet. Helps me figure out what the root cause is, right? So do I need to treat somebody more with dietary recommendations, or do I need to treat somebody more with herbal remedies? It helps me determine how to treat them.
I actually had a question about that too, because vegetarianism is really like a huge thing with Ayurveda, is it not?
It is. It is.
And of course that makes sense because, where it's originating from and the lifestyle. Does that ever come into conflict for you or with your clients as now, no?
No. I mean, I don't eat meat myself. I haven't for over 10 years. With the exception of when I take medicinal ghees, I'm actually vegan. And I can talk to somebody about the benefits of that. And sometimes I might encourage a client, always through knowledge, always through science, of like, these specific things are causing this problem, right? Or like, you will have this benefit if you cut out the meat, right? But I'm never actually trying to guide them through the process and inform them, not like tell them to live a certain way. I have the vast majority of my clients are omnivores. So there's always a way to kind of like counteract the thing, right? Like if you really want to eat that, okay, I'm not going to stop you. It's clearly a way that you derive joy from life, and who am I to take away joy from your life? That's not my role. But I do want to inform you of what that is doing to your insides, and I want to give you tools to reduce the harm. So that's my approach to it.
Yeah. Well, actually, the reason I ask, which you probably haven't known my background, but I was vegetarian for over 10 years, and now I am a meat eater, and I do really well with it. Like I feel healthier. I am healthier.
Sure.
My blood work shows it. Everything shows it. I'm a lot healthier. But I'm very picky because I'm a huge animal rights activist too. So I'm very into animals and their welfare. Yeah. So the quality of meat is very, very important to me. But yeah, it is hard to look back at like some of these things and look at Ayurvedic, like I have Ayurvedic cookbooks and I have all this stuff. And then to feel like, I'm kind of someone who also avoids a lot of legumes now because I don't do that well with the lectins and everything. And then when you look at some of the foods that are recommended and the things, I'm like, oh, this is like so the opposite of how I am eating or how I found I do feel best eating now. So sometimes that's hard because I do like, I want to do it. And then I'm not sure if I, want to go back to that place. So that's where I was curious. And I think there is, things have changed a lot with people, recommending meat eating in a certain way, but there is always a right and a wrong way to do everything. Yes. Certainly. There's also unhealthy vegetarians, as we know that too. So.
Yes, there are.
So yeah, what do you think about that? If you feel like someone does feel better eating meat and they are of course trying to eat higher quality pasture raised meat and not really like horrible chemical antibiotic laden meat, is there still like maybe like on the cleanse they just don't eat it?
It's just on the cleanse. It's just on the cleanse. And so, and that's, when you're on the cleanse, you're not having milk, you're not having, you know, things that are hard to digest is what it is.
Right.
And meat is harder, more taxing on the body to digest. Yep. You're also not having gluten, or like breads, right? Like, so it's heavy things that you're not allowed to have on the cleanse because you just want your body to be able to like be on easy street, your digestive system to be on easy street. And so it's just a week that we take those things away, right? And you're just having, cooked greens and, flatbread, right? Or some gluten-free bread or something like that, right? We just want it to be very easily digested. But like I said, like the vast majority of my clients do eat meat. And my goal is to just empower them through knowledge about like, okay, if you eat this much or maybe I start to see something in like the way that they speak or they're reporting some kind of discomfort. I'm like, okay, that could be a meat thing. So how much are you eating? Do you need to do a little bit less, or do we need to instead like add this other thing into your diet so that you're eating that, like the paired foods,
help you digest it, help it move through.
Digest it. Maybe you need more fermented foods, right? Like, yes, you can have the chicken salad sandwich, but then I also need you eating kimchi, right?
Yeah.
Right. And, so there's a lot of food pairing in Ayurveda. And this is another thing that I think is super cool about the way Ayurveda sees the world is that every single thing, just like every single thing in the world is associated with a dosha, like, cause it's physical. As soon as it becomes physical, it has a dosha and it has a guna, and the three gunas are their qualities. So is it sattvic, which means it's very pure. Yeah, it just means pure. It means that it moves the energy upward. It supports the brain. It supports vitality. It supports, spiritual enlightenment. There are people who are priests who will like never eat a tamasic food, because the tamasic foods move the energy downward and away
Hmm.
from the mind. And so priests, and especially like when you give a gift to a spiritual leader, you only give them sattvic foods, right? To move the energy upward closer to God, or to, foster enlightenment. Then you
Hmm.
have rajasic, which just means that it supports energy. It gives you energy. It doesn't move the energy up or down. It just maintains, sustains, and like helps to build muscle. It kind of keeps the momentum going forward, right? And then you have tamasic foods, which are toxic and they move the energy down. Some tamasic foods are they can be used in good ways, like they can help you have a bowel movement, especially if you're stopped up. But
Hmm.
other types of tamasic foods in the way that sattvic fosters life, tamasic creates death. And so if you're eating a lot of death, that's another, and this is something that I actually disagree with Ayurveda about. Like Ayurveda doesn't like mushrooms because they come from death. And so they are considered tamasic. And
Interesting.
yes, right. And so all of these rich, wonderful, incredible medicinal mushrooms, Ayurveda just doesn't like because they come from death, right? So
Even
they
so,
are,
even if they were made for medicine and not just being eaten, they don't like them at all.
yeah,
Wow.
because they're considered tamasic.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
They're
only
feeding off
reason.
of dead
Right.
organisms.
Exactly. And so that's where Ayurveda doesn't like meat. It's
Okay.
death. And
Yeah.
so you cannot foster life in your body if you're also bringing death into it. That's their perspective. You don't
Hmm.
have to agree with that. Obviously, and even in India, it was the priest class that was strictly vegetarian.
Yeah.
The kings were definitely eating meat. There are all sorts of treatments in the text for people who are meat eaters, because it was only the priests that were strict vegetarians, and they were the ones who were practicing Ayurveda. They were the doctors. But all of the people that they were treating that were not from their class of society were probably meat eaters, especially the kings and the knights and the lords and everybody who had
Hmm.
leadership powers. Um, so there is definitely instruction on how to eat meat, right? How to pair it with different food, with different spices, with different herbs, with different things, so that you got the good, but removed the bad, you lessened the harm, kind of a thing. And so, like you said, there was just a right way and a wrong way of doing it.
Yeah.
And
Are there
so
doshas that you think tolerate meat better than other doshas?
Vata.
Hmm.
Vata. So Vata usually struggles the most with being vegetarian.
Hmm.
Most Vata people have a really hard time with doing that. Kapha people, and again, I have a good amount of Kapha in me, we are the best for being vegetarian. Like we
Hmm.
can be vegetarian very easily. Pitta people can kind of fluctuate back and forth. They need a certain amount of heaviness, so that either has to be like a heavy vegetable meal or a meat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to look into that. My husband is like, he eats meat, but he doesn't like love it. Like he's even saying to me now, he's like, oh, like I can't stand how I can't eat the amount of meat that you eat now, and like the amount of protein that you eat. And I'm like, what? You're like a big man, like it's just, but maybe it's something like that. We probably do have totally different constitutions, and maybe
There
he
you
really
go.
doesn't need to and doesn't
Yeah.
do well with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into it for him. Both of ours. I'd be curious. I know. Now I like want to do more stuff with you because I want to know all the things.
We need to take your pulse.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to take my pulse. I have to come down to Boston.
Right.
Well, so let's talk about herbs for skin. Let's talk about skin stuff. And I'd like to learn definitely some Western herbs too, whatever you think for Western herbs that are great for skin or certain skin conditions, but also some Ayurvedic ones that I haven't heard of as well. So let's dive into that, and maybe what are some of the most common skin conditions that you see that you're treating with with this approach.
Yeah. So I have a little bit of a list in my brain of kind of like my favorite herbs for the skin and different things. I think that, I should also say, like, some of what we think of as like Western herbs, they are in the Vedic system also, like for however it happened, they just like I learned passion flower and valerian studying Ayurveda before I learned passion flower and valerian in the Western Materia Medica, even though I knew those were like European herbs. So some of it is just there's crossover. But my favorite ones for the skin, ashwagandha and bala. I put like ashwagandha and bala in just about everything that I make. Ashwagandha, it's getting a lot of attention now in the West. It deserves the limelight. It very much does. It is a little bit over there. I always like to caution people about our ashwagandha because you can do too much when you take it internally. When you take it internally, you can overdo it. You got to try a bit hard. You know, it's not easy to overdo. But you can, and I do see people doing it. One, ashwagandha likes to be mixed. It does not want to be a single herb. It does not want to be on its own. When you take it on its own, it's easier to overdo it, right? So you always want to get a compound that has Ayurveda or a compound that has ashwagandha in it, not like a single herb.
Yeah, because a lot of people just take like
They
pills of it now, or
yeah, exactly. And that is when I see people hurting themselves. And it can, in long-term, large doses, start to become toxic to your liver, and it will make your joints stiff. So that is like how you kind of know if you started taking too much. But honestly, if you're taking it in a compound, you're taking it mixed with other herbs, it's a lot harder to achieve that, like, now my joints are stiff and my liver is stressed out kind of situation. And that's internal. When you're using it topically, you cannot screw it up. Like it's you can do it every single day. It is really good for your nervous system. So it's great for your peripheral nervous system. It helps strengthen the telomeres on the ends of your cells, which are important for anti-aging. So that's how it, prevents wrinkles from forming and prevents signs of aging from happening. It does help your body produce and use its own collagen. So it's collagen supporting. And it's great for the topical immune system. Like that's one of the things that I think, and all right, so we're talking about skin and herbs. I think one of the coolest things about skin and herbs is that you have, yes, you're going to achieve this cosmetic beautifying effect, but you're also doing something really good for your body where you're boosting your immune system, or you're like fostering a good microbiome on the top of your skin. It's naturally anti-carcinogenic. Ashwagandha is very anti-carcinogenic. So if you are worried about skin cancer, like you could have an anti-aging skin cream that is also anti-carcinogenic, and that is very easy to achieve with herbal cosmetics. Like,
yeah, that's really cool.
Very easy to. You don't even have
I've never even thought of ashwagandha in a topical preparation. See, this is why this is so interesting. I've only really thought of it as something to be ingested.
Yeah.
It just wasn't on my radar for that.
It's one of the first oil I think people who study Ayurveda learned how to make is ashwagandha bala. It is like the most popular, most basic. This is the Abhyanga oil most people use, right? Okay. Unless you're working with a practitioner who's like, I'm going to give you one for Vata, I'm going to give you one for Pitta. You could get a dosha-specific Abhyanga oil, or you can just get ashwagandha bala. And honestly, they're so good. They're so good together. Bala is the next herb that I was actually going to talk about because, and this is why I put ashwagandha and bala in almost every single thing that I make, because they are so good together for the peripheral nervous system and for the skin. Bala, again, collagen supporting. It is great for wound healing. So if you get a scratch or a scrape, it reduces scar tissue. It helps not only with collagen, but also elastin. So it helps your skin rebound and move back into place. Yep. It firms and strengthens the cell wall, like the skin cell wall. It's a phenomenal antimicrobial. Phenomenal. Like it's up there with thyme, and oregano as like just superstar antimicrobial. And one of the things that I think is the coolest, it doesn't get marked as an antiviral because it's not like out there killing viruses, but I think of it as an antiviral because it makes the cell wall so strong that it makes it really difficult, like nigh impossible, for a virus to penetrate the wall of the cell. So the best offense is a good defense, right? With bala. And because the virus has to penetrate the wall of the cell to get in and infect it.
Yep.
And if it can't penetrate the cell wall, you don't get the infection. And so that's why.
Is this BALA?
Yes.
Okay.
BALA. We talked about it in the beginning. It's the country mallow. The Latin.
Oh, the country mallow. Okay.
Yep, it's Latin is Sitta cordifolia. So some people know it as Sitta. But yeah, bala, and the word bala means strength.
Okay.
Like that's what it means, is strength. When you take it internally, it's a heart tonic. It's really good for the muscles, like people who are trying to build muscle mass. Bala is really good for that. Because it's the heart and the muscle system. But it's so good on your skin. And then Shatavari is another one. This is
I love that.
This is one that it's phenomenal for women's health. It's a great fertility herb, great for balancing hormones. I know a lot of women use it to ease their menstrual cramps during their cycles, but it's really good for balancing hormones. And so I use this actually for teens a lot, or people who are struggling with acne, like hormone-based acne, PCOS, things like that. It balances whenever there's an acne or an inflammation or something happening in the skin that's hormone related. Shatavari is really good at calming and soothing and healing that. It's also, again, a really good collagen booster.
And this is again topical, or would you have them take it internal?
You could do either. I usually, in my preparations and my products for Impact Botanicals, it's a topical. If I'm working with somebody, then I would have them take it internally. Again, it's one that generally you want to mix a little bit, but Shatavari does like to shine. It likes to be on her own. She's a very strong herb, and she's not right for everybody. So when topically, you're fine, but internally, there's some people that she just is not a good fit for, and it can actually, in those cases, exacerbate the problem.
I actually take this, but so I want to talk to you about it. I didn't know how. I was saying Shatavari, so I'm glad I heard you say the proper pronunciation. So Shatavari.
Yeah, Shatavari.
I take it if it's the week before my cycle. It is like so helpful with like PMS symptoms for me, like mood wise. Just I'm so much better.
Yeah,
but if I take it other weeks of my cycle, it makes me mean. So it's definitely doing something hormonally that is good when I need the hormones, but when I don't need them, it's not good.
Yeah, honestly, I love that. People who have more air in them, so meat eaters, it's or people who are more Vata, like Shatavari, like that connection, that dot definitely connects. And so I love that you're taking it. I love that she helps you with your cycle. I'm getting a clearer picture of part of your
You're figuring me out as we talk.
Yep, no, we're doing that. Sarsaparilla is another anti-acne.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I use sarsaparilla a lot. I think it's a great herb inside. I've used it to treat UTIs. I've used it to treat, liver and kidney things. I think that it deserves more attention as an herb in general. But it is a phenomenal anti-inflammatory in the dermal tissues. Amazing for acne, amazing for eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis.
Wow. I have tons of that growing.
Yes.
Yeah. It just grows wild here, like a bunch in the forest by my house.
It's so good. You use the roots and you make an infused oil with it, either with the Western method or the, Vedic method. And then you use it topically. And here's the other good thing about it. It's got natural UV protection in it. It's not a whole lot.
I didn't even know that.
It's not a big number or anything like that. But so don't go out there and be like, I covered myself in sarsaparilla oil. Now I'm totally safe at the beach. Do not. That is not what you should do.
No.
But if you are, out there every day riding your bike or in the garden, a little bit on your skin, it's good protection. And here's another thing that just makes me love sarsaparilla so much is that it helps prevent and protect us from stress-related signs of aging. And so if you have a stressful job, if you are starting to get white hair because of your boss or something like that, sarsaparilla can help protect and fortify your body. Either taking it internally or using it topically can help to prevent stress-related aging from happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's fascinating. I've been meaning to, I was just going to make a, a forage root beer, fermented soda. I've been doing a lot of wild fermented sodas and stuff.
My God, so cool.
But now I'm like, wait, no, I'm going to infuse an oil with this.
So many things to do. You can make toners from sarsaparilla.
Ooh, yeah.
One of my colleagues at the Boston School has a still, and one of these days I really want her to make a sarsaparilla hydrosol for me, because I think that would be an incredible toner. Yeah. Okay. I think we also have to talk about licorice a little bit, because licorice is, bar none, I think it is the best thing for age spots, for brightening the skin. So when you want a brighter complexion, when you want to reduce redness, and then I combine it with black cumin seed oil, because black cumin seed oil is also phenomenal for age spots and redness, things like that. Whenever you want a brighter complexion, I love a combination of licorice and black cumin seed. And I think it's just so fantastic for healing redness, rosacea.
Yeah.
I use a lot of licorice when I treat rosacea. Okay. They used it as a face cream, so on the cheeks, around the eyes. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a wonderful anti-inflammatory. It's a wonderful skin brightening herb. And sometimes I do pair it with turmeric. Turmeric is also, it's astringent, it's tightening, it's tonifying for the skin. And it's really wonderful at helping to remove unwanted redness from the skin. Turmeric is a little strong though, so you have to be very careful the amount that you use topically, or the amount that you put in your formulation for your skin cream, for your lotion, whatever it is. And it can be really drying. So if you have excess oil on your skin, turmeric in your skincare would be really good for you. If you tend to be very dry already, then you might not want a turmeric in your skin cream.
Does it dry you out internally too? Like if you were ingesting a lot of turmeric?
It can if you take too much. And so turmeric in Indian cooking is used I know, and again, this is another one that is getting a lot of attention right now. And again, very well deserved. She deserves that glow up. Yeah. But then as Westerners, we're kind of just taking pills of turmeric, and that's not how it should work. Turmeric is, one, it's more bioavailable when you take it with a fat. Yep. So it's usually used in cooking, and only a small amount, we're talking a quarter teaspoon a day, because it's very hard on your liver. And so it's mixed in with food, it's mixed in with oil, it's mixed in with black pepper, which it's always paired with to really help make it bioavailable. And it's ingested that way. So when you're taking it in a pill form, it's really your body is spending a lot of energy to break it down. And it's probably not accessing everything, because so much of the good stuff in turmeric is fat soluble. And so you need to take it with a fat. You need to take it with an oil, with a ghee, with sesame oil or olive oil or whatever it is you're cooking with. Yeah.
I know, all these old methods, they had a reason, even if they didn't know what the reason was. It really was there for a reason that they were cooking with these things and with the fats.
This is a medicine system that has existed for 5,000 years. They figured it out, they got it down. Yeah. Ayurveda existed for about 2,000 years before it was first written down. Wow. In the texts. And so the texts are about 3,000 years old, but the system of medicine has existed and been around for 5. And so over those 2,000 years before they decided to put pen to paper, they figured out which herbs, you use water, which herbs you use fat, which herbs you use a mixture of both. How do you do this, right?
The best extraction methods for the constituents. Exactly. So what about scalp psoriasis? Have you seen that a lot? Because I find that to be a very frustrating, psoriasis, of course, is a frustrating condition, but scalp psoriasis is hard, especially when you're trying to get through hair with topical products. How do you approach that?
So there's this really great herb called bringraj, and that is a really hard thing to spell. Bring, B-R-I, and I have to visualize this in my head. Actually, I think it's BHRINGARAJ. It means Lord of the Hair.
Okay.
That's what it translates to, Lord of the Hair. It's a great liver herb. Like, it's honestly, this is an herb that deserves a glow up. We should start glowing this one up, because it's a great liver herb. It's a great binder for toxins in the body. It helps us move heavy metals. It helps us move things that shouldn't be there. It's a good cleanser. It's a good anti-inflammatory. And I use an oil of Bhringraj, and I use that in the hair. It's also like, it is one of Ayurveda's prized cosmetic oils, like a Bhringraj oil. It helps promote hair growth, so it helps to prevent balding. It's nice and anti-inflammatory, so that is the main thing that I use for scalp psoriasis is Bhringraj oil. And then, bonus, it helps you have thick, lustrous locks that are gorgeous and beautiful, and it helps to prevent the graying of hair. So it helps with mineral absorption in your body. Because a lot of gray hair happens because your minerals aren't being absorbed properly. And so as our bodies take these things in and process them, Bhringraj helps your body process and assimilate things. Awesome, right? And so neem is one that I use for psoriasis and eczema a lot in general. That's NEEM.
Yep.
But when it comes to the scalp, I always turn to Bhringraj.
And what oil is that usually infused in? Is it like
it'll be either a sesame or coconut. You can find it in both.
Like fractionated coconut?
No, they'll just put it in a normal coconut. And
really?
then if it's winter, you have to liquefy it.
Yeah.
So it is more commonly found in a sesame, but you can find it in a coconut if you want.
All right. I have to look into that for sure.
Yeah.
So you have all these amazing formulations. Is this all part of Impact Botanicals? Like, let's talk about Impact Botanicals.
This is, So Impact Botanicals came, I wanted to, it turned to product, right? And part of that was, there's an Ayurvedic teaching that every day you have 3 opportunities to poison yourself or nourish yourself, right? And I was thinking about, what else do we do on a regular daily basis? Well, cosmetics, and I like formulating. And so if I could disguise medicine as a cosmetic, right? I thought that I just really liked that idea, was disguising medicine as a cosmetic. And so I have different lines for Impact Botanicals. Everything with a green label is a wellness product, and we have like bug sprays and decongestants and anti-inflammatories and lotion that helps with eczema and psoriasis and things like that. That's part of our wellness line. Then we also have cosmetics. Everything with a purple label is for your body. I think one of our best products there is our skin cream. And I was telling you how Ayurveda treats anxiety and like overstimulation with a blend of nervine and adaptogenic herbs in an oil, right? So I took my anti-anxiety remedy and I turned it into a lotion. So it's this nice, soothing lotion that supports the nervous system, fortifies the nervous system, calms you down, chills you out. It's like, you're not going to feel it in the way that you feel like a CBD kind of a thing, but it's this nice little like lavender mist kind of relaxation that your nerves are actually feeling, right? We also have our healthy breast serum, and aftershaves that help with, they're antimicrobial, so they're cleansing, they help to prevent breakouts, they're cooling, so they're really nice, especially like in the summer, like in your underarms after you shave or something like that. We have hair oils that have Bhringraj in them, right? So our hair serums that are extremely popular, they all have Bhringraj along with a few other herbs in them. And so, yes, they help promote healthy hair. They help promote hair growth. They will hydrate your scalp. They'll fix any psoriasis that you have, and they'll also prevent split ends, right? So you really can have the best of both worlds. We have face serums and face creams that have ashwagandha and bala and shatavari and all of those like collagen boosting herbs in them. Amalaki is another one that I love using because it is one of the richest sources of vitamin C on the planet. And a lot of vitamin C serums out there, you know, they're great anti-aging serums, but the vitamin C is an extract, which means for some people it can be too harsh and it can actually cause redness and like an outbreak.
Yeah.
And people who have had that reaction to an extracted vitamin C serum do not have that reaction with a whole herb vitamin C serum, which is what we use, right? And so again, God, the power of plants, like
Yeah.
it's so delicious. So that's, you know, that's kind of what we have. And it is this notion of, what if your cosmetic was also building like health inside of your body? What if your
Right.
cosmetic was fortifying and, you know, killing germs, and helping your body stay in and maintain balance and wellness, right? Well, also, of course, like giving you the most fabulous hair you've ever had in your entire life.
Who doesn't
like,
love that dual purpose?
Flawless skin, you know, like of course we can have those things, but let's also have a good, healthy immune system and strong skin cells and a nervous system that isn't always overwhelmed, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes back to what you were talking about right in the beginning. I mean, taking that like morning pause to like rub oil over your body, check in with your body, see what needs some attention. And then to know that like these products you're putting on are also healing and nourishing as well. That should be all of our routines. We should be doing this every day instead of like quickly toxic chemicals everywhere, toxic fragrance. I think that's like the norm.
It is. Well, you know, but I think people are waking up. There is a shift, you know, people are becoming increasingly aware. And I think that's really powerful. Yeah, it really is.
Well, Impact Botanicals also, I just want to note this because I was really impressed that your commitment to sustainability is pretty incredible. I'm just going to read because I took note of it that the packaging is not plastic and can be recycled or reused. Labels are compostable and made from plant-based materials. And then you remove 1 pound of plastic from nature for every product sold, and compost any products that go past their sell-by date. I mean, everything. It's everything. You've thought of everything, I feel like.
Well, actually, I'm going to throw in one more. Our apothecary space is solar powered.
Wow.
So no dinosaurs were harmed in the production of these products. And so that's another thing that I'm really proud of. And thank you. It's why we say from soil to skin, only goodness goes in. That, it's every step of the way. We're treating Mother Earth with respect, right? And we're making sure that we're never putting profit above the planet or above the people that work with us. So,
wow, that's awesome.
Cool.
All right, Rachel. So let's tell people where they can find you on social media, how they can find Impact Botanicals, just all of those things.
Yeah, of course. So Impact Botanicals, we're online at myimpactbotanicals.com. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, all of the socials at Impact Botanicals. The best place to find me personally is on LinkedIn, Rachel Warnock, or on Instagram, Rachel Out Loud. And if you want to come and study with me, if you're in the Boston area, come study with me at the Boston School of Herbal Studies. You can find me on the website there, all the classes that I teach, bostonherbalstudies.com. And those are wonderful in-person classes. You can learn about the plants, experience them in front of you, learn how to make cosmetics with me, learn about the nervous system with me, learn about Vedic infusions with me, or any of the other fantastic teachers at the Boston School.
Awesome. Go check her out. Check Impact Botanicals out. She's clearly a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a real treat.
Thank you, Rachel. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a moment to leave a review. In that review, I would love to hear what topics you'd like to see covered next and which guests you'd love to hear from in future episodes. You can connect with me on Instagram at Original Being Podcast, and be sure to follow, like, and share the podcast on all platforms to help spread the word. Thanks for listening.